In a universe full of ideas, we draw lightness from the dark to a place where opposites attract. Right meets left, positive touches negative, sparking an explosion of truth. Because politics makes strange bedfellows.
Already we're on the same page. I'm liking you guys already. And I just met you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, at the movie theaters, at the AMCs, they only give you paper straws. So you got to take like 5 of them. You know?
Yeah, it's bad for slushies.
Yeah, really bad for slushies.
Jesus. Oh, it is a strange world.
But yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I take my hat off to you guys. I salute you for doing what you're doing. It's important to raise awareness. I mean, what issue is bigger than this? Nuclear annihilation, and we are closer now than we have ever been to that in history. So, yeah, this is the issue. While everybody else is running around worried about, like paper straws, this is the issue of the day.
Well, exactly. Did you see this intervention that this young woman did, 21-year-old who stood up to KJP, Karen Jean-Pierre?
Mm-hmm. I did see that.
No, I didn't see that.
All right.
That looked so staged.
It was very staged.
It was.
I'll describe it to you, Rick, first before I tell you who these people were. So Karen Jean-Pierre, press secretary for the White House, is talking to an audience of people who are in their late teens, early 20s about how they're the voters of tomorrow. And then you just see this one woman stand up who's 21 years old, and she's like, "Go, oh boy, here I go." And she stands up, and then she says, will Biden stop signing all of these projects that are killing the environment? I mean, he's signed more projects than Donald Trump has, And she goes on like that for another 20 seconds. And then Karen Jean-Pierre says, "Well, first of all, thank you for your courage."
Thank you for your courage.
And then everybody claps.
Unbelievable.
And then it turns out that the young woman who stood up to do this for the climate is the executive director of an organization called Gen Z for Change, which used to be known as TikTokers for Biden. And this organization are stakeholders in the Biden administration. So, totally real, totally genuine, organic, right? Yeah. There's my intervention. But
if that had been a real intervention, like the kind that you do, they would have thrown you out. They would have thrown her out.
Oh, no
real
doubt.
Quick.
Or if it was if it was
like this.
Yeah.
I'll show you what I mean. This is what happens when you do a real intervention.
Oh, is this the lecture hall with Seymour Hersh? I'm looking for the one with Seymour Hersh because it's a policy and press hall event. So shouldn't we be talking about the Nord Stream since that's the biggest story of the century? And you guys, I'm sorry. I mean, you have the executive editor of the New York Times there who came out with a phony story to try and block Seymour Hersh. It's just kind of funny how that happened, I mean, did you even acknowledge Seymour Hersh? All of you are executive editors of papers that broke Pentagon, My Lai, Watergate. Is this the same papers or not? I mean, is there anything you've gotten right in the last 20 years, or am I mistaken about that? I mean, it's just kind of funny because Iraq, wrong. Syria, wrong. Russiagate, really wrong. Okay, I mean, the list goes on and on. So the last thing you could do to try and actually fix your reputation is acknowledge that through leaks, we had to find out that Zelensky was going to bomb Moscow on the anniversary. I mean, if you're so impartial, shouldn't you at least say, right, that Zelensky was going to bring us on the verge of World War III? That seems pretty fair. While Julian Assange rots in prison, all of you got, fat checks because he's in jail for doing your job. And you know what? Tucker Carlson ain't no Seymour Hersh, but he did something you guys are scared to do. Speak the truth and actually be critical of the war, which is why he was actually fired from Fox, because you are all cowards. Every single one of you. None of you have actually had any relevancy. And you know what? The mainstream press is now dying. Nobody's ever going to listen to you again. You have no credibility with the public. The only people who care about what you have to say are elite assholes who have nothing productive to say anymore. And it's dying off. So will you at least say something, either about Nord Stream or Ukraine or the fact that Zelensky brought us to the verge of World War III, and the only reason we knew about that was through leaks? Go ahead. It's a free speech event, right? You guys are the press. Let's say something here. Mr. Khan, come on. You know, you're the executive editor of the New York Times, you know? I'm just trying to get into some good trouble here, man. Woo, listen, Karen, get out of my face for a second. I got to talk to these gentlemen. Well, I just want to hear what they have to say. Go ahead. I'm done.
Wait your turn.
You're not going to tell them to you. Go.
Wait your turn.
You could project if we can't.
I would just say, I think it's important to hear everybody's point of view.
Yeah.
So thank you.
All right.
I do think that we need to give our moderator a chance to ask other questions.
We're on the verge of World War III.
Some of the people in the audience also do so. Thank
Let's
you.
go.
Really,
Let's
thank
go.
you.
Say something about this bombing. We blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. Listen, don't stand there while there are people rotting in prison. Nobody said anything about Uhuru, right? The socialists who are in jail for being critical of this war. God damn it. Let's go. At least say something about the people in jail for being critical of this war. They don't deserve to be in prison right now.
Yeah, good times.
How's your knee, Jose? Is your knee okay after that?
It clicks every time I bend it.
Yeah,
that was a good time.
They put the slam dunk on you there.
Yeah, I know.
How did you know her name was Karen?
You can usually tell by the way they act. There, it's a pretty universal, name there. The height of that one was when Aaron Mate showed that to Seymour Hersh on Jimmy Dore, and Seymour Hersh said, "Yeah, I saw it." And in typical Seymour Hersh fashion, I think he went on a little too long, but he got the point across. It was very good, So. Yeah.
Now you've made so many of these. Tell me about just some of the other politicians that you've intervened with. If our audience is unfamiliar, tell them who you've interrupted.
Okay, so it goes back to, I guess, I recently learned that there is a word for this. I think it's a Kenyan word. They call it mau-mauing or something. And it's this idea where you just go and interrupt the town hall. So the first time I did it was 2019, like November, on Adriano Espaillat, Congressman of Harlem. And then I got kind of like on headline news when I interrupted Kamala Harris back in 2021. And then after her, Senator Gillibrand. And then after her, Congressman Jamal Bowman. And then the one that like really got us on the ways, that Kynan and I got us on the ways, was the one with the AOC intervention, the one that Kynan opened up with, where he mistakenly says, "None of this matters."
You can't say that. You can't say that.
Unless there's a nuclear weapon, which he meant to say something else. He meant to say, "None of this matters if there's a nuclear bomb coming our way." Because they were just talking about, what were they talking about, Kynan? Just some bullshit political.
I don't even remember. That's how
mailboxes or something.
Nothing of substance.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing of substance.
Well, one of the coolest things that you guys do, and I love how you stage these interventions where several people are there from the Schiller Institute, and you've all worked it out amongst yourselves, where one stands up and confronts them, and then just as security takes the first one out, then somebody else stands up and starts yelling at him, and so on and so on and so on until they have to go through 5 or 6 people. And do you always get thrown out of the venue? Usually they just ask you to leave. They're not as rude to you as they were at that video we just looked at. But it's usually just one of those things where they ask you to leave and you go quietly, maybe not quietly, but voluntarily.
Well, I believe in not going gentle into that good night.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.